Alright, hi guys, I'm going to go ahead and make a video. This is going to be my lit timeline, and I haven't officially started it yet, so you aren't necessarily going to like do all of this talking at the bottom or at the front of yours, but I'm going to do it for you guys just to make sure I'm walking you through the process. You're going to notice that I have my phone in my hand with pictures of each of my book covers. I also have my laptop in front of me because I did my my prep work on my notability. That's why I made it on paper for you guys, so that this would be an easier process for you guys to have your notes right in front of you. But now I've got my notes in front of me, I've got my pictures ready for my covers, and I am 100% ready to rock and roll and start my lit timeline video. So at this point in time, 48 seconds in, I will officially start. Okay, so like, hi, I'm Mrs. Walsh, and I would like to tell you a little bit about my life as a reader. So I thought back chronologically throughout my life about all the different books that actually meant something to me. And that was really hard for me because a lot of books actually mean something to me, but I had to pick out 5 specific ones for this presentation, and so I thought I found some pretty good ones. So I'm going to get started with my first book. My first book was actually from when I was 8 years old and happened to be one of the first like chapter books that I really remember reading. It was called Little House in the Big Woods. It's by Laura Ingalls Wilder, and basically it takes place in 1871, and Laura, who is the main character and the author, essentially, she was only 4 at the time, but she's growing up in the big woods in Wisconsin, and she's got her pa and her ma and her sisters Mary and Carrie, and it just tells you about really how life was back then. I absolutely love this because once I started the first one, I just kept reading and reading and reading, and it really got me into reading. I enjoyed it, and I really felt proud when I would finish those big chapter books as a young kid. That's why it's really important to me, is because it kind of got me hooked on reading in the first place. And I also really started to like history and like historical fiction and things like that. Even though this is true story, still follows that historical fiction vibe where it's talking about like the olden days and stuff. My second book, I'm going to get pulled up on my phone here, was from when I was 11 years old. And this was one of the first books that I remember being actually like assigned to me that I had to like read with other people. So it ended up being like kind of like a classroom experience at that point in time. I remember I was in 6th grade, and the book is Old Yeller by Frank Gibson. And Old Yeller is basically about a boy who finds a stray dog, and this is also historical, so it's like post-Civil War Texas, and there's a boy who is trying to help his little brother and his mom at their homestead because their dad has gone away on a cow, like what do you call it, a cattle drive, and he has left town, and so the mom is at home with the 2 little boys, and they're really trying to help out a lot, and he finds this stray dog, and it ends up becoming his best friend. So yeah, this also, aside from the fact that it was like one of the first books I was assigned, it's also the first book that I remember sobbing and crying about. Now, I'm not going to give you spoilers because you guys know how I feel about that, but I will tell you that there is a point in time in this book where I sobbed and cried openly in front of my classmates, and I didn't care at all because it was just that sad. All right, so that's my second book. My third book, this is the one that I've read over and over again. I've actually read this 4 times, and it doesn't sound like a lot, but when you start to consider how long this book is, it is kind of a lot. The book is Gone with the Wind by Margaret Mitchell. This is another historical fiction book here, so you can see kind of like where my genre loyalties lie there. But this is also, it's set during the Civil War. It follows a Southern belle named Scarlett O'Hara through basically the entire Civil War and the ups and downs, and the fact that like her life went from like, you know, garden parties and big poofy dresses to, you know, trying to grow your own food to be able to eat at all out in the field. So it goes through a very tragic history of the epic Civil War drama, and everything that happened around that time. I love this book. Again, I mean, you've already seen the trend that I like these historical books, but this was the first time that I was like, you know what? Historical fiction is for me. Like, it's 100%, that's my favorite for sure. And I was also like secretly kind of proud because it's like this thick. And when you're like 15 and you're carrying around a book like that and you're reading it 4 times, you feel like you're pretty cool. So I love that book. My 4th book actually comes from when I was 40. So really only like 3-4 years ago-ish. And this one is actually a series. This is the 39 Clues series, and I don't know if you guys have seen this before. Ooh, that doesn't look like it's coming in very nicely. But the 39 Clues series, there, maybe, was actually written by a lot of different authors. Like, different authors took different, actually took on those books. So, like, the first book was done by one author, and then the next book's done by another, and the next one's done by another. And they're all mostly pretty famous authors. Like, you've got Rick Riordan in there, you've got Gordon Corman, Margaret Peterson Haddix writes books for those series, and so does Jude Watson. So, those might be names you've heard before. But it's kind of really cool when you think about it, because there's, like, this story, and all the books fit together, but the authors are all different. So it is a very interesting read. Basically in this book, there are 2 kids, Amy and Dan Cahill. They are a part of a family of like, their family has a lot of power, and you don't really understand until you're going through the whole story how they've obtained this power, but they want to find the secrets behind the power to their family. And after their grandmother, Grace, dies, or it might be their aunt, I can't remember right now, but I think it's their grandmother actually, dies and leaves this like competition basically for them to be able to find her fortune. So the books go through all of that. And I'll tell you really the reason that I love these books, not only are they just really good and engaging books, but it was also like the first series that I read, and I actually listened to it on audiobook with my daughter Riley. We would listen to it when we would drive to school and home from school, and we just really loved these books. We really got into it, and I felt like we just couldn't get the next books fast enough because we were excited and we shared it, and it was just something really cool we did together. And then lastly, I'm going to throw another one in there from when I was 41. This was another book series that I read with Riley. So again, it's important for those reasons. But this was the Warrior Cats series. I don't know if you can see that. The Warrior Cats series, there's tons of different, like, sets of the series. But that original series that started with Into the Wild it's basically about the Thundercats, who's like a gang of cats, and they have a new kitty pet that is joining their ranks, and his name is Rusty, but then he becomes Firestar, and then as you read these books, Firestar becomes a leader in this clan of cats, and there's all these different clans, and they hunt together, they fight together, they do lots of different things together, they try to overcome problems together, but it's really just cool, because A, I like cats, and B, I like adventure, and C, I like hanging out with my kids, so it worked out really well because we really liked these books. We actually had some really good conversations about these books too, which make them pretty special, because we were able to really talk about, like, I remember one time that one of the characters died in it, and my daughter was really upset about it, and I mean I was too, but she was really like, no, we can't lose that character, you know? And we ended up talking about grief and about loss and about things like that. And it just was a conversation that we maybe wouldn't have had in that moment that we ended up having because of literature. So that's pretty cool. But yeah, so that is my lit timeline. I know mine is probably a little bit longer than most people's because basically I can't stop talking the majority of the time and I talk too much. But I do want to make sure that you guys, when this is actually like, you're not gonna say this in yours, but I want to make sure that when you're doing this, you're prepared. You've got your notes in front of you, you've got some photos or the actual books that you can show, and you kind of already know what you're gonna say, and you got to make sure you're giving me a summary. You got to give me title, author, summary, and why it's important to you. So it's your turn, guys. Go ahead, start making your list, start organizing your information, and you'll owe me this video in about a week. All right? Thanks. Bye. Mwah.